Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday show. It's back. We've been on the road the last few weeks, and we just got back. And are we ever jet lagged? We went to Japan for a week. Then we were home for one night, which was last Sunday, a week ago. Then we got up in the morning and flew to France. And we're there for, well, we flew overnight and then 2 nights and then flew home. So we got back Thursday. And man, so flying all the way to Asia, flying home, and then flying all the way to Europe, and then back. I couldn't tell you what day it is. It's been unbelievable for the jet lag. So anyway, we're back. Just want to let you know that we do have some pictures coming up in just a moment. Don't forget, you see Toyo tires here. Our Toyo Tire Celsius 2 all-weather tire giveaway is wrapping up in just a few days. I don't have the link here because we're live. After the show goes live, I'll put up a link in the description of this live show after we're done. And then you can click on that and enter to win a pair of Celsius 2 all-weather tires from Toyo. We're giving a pair away for Canada, and we're also giving a pair away for the United States. So if you're in either country, you can sign up, and we're going to give those tires away probably in a week or so. So it's not going to be too long, and it's perfect timing because we're heading into, dreary fall weather and then into winter, and you can leave these Celsius 2 all-weather tires on all year round. Also, if you want to get a super chat in, if you have to get a question answered, you can do that here on the live show. Just type in a little donation to the channel, and it just flags it for me to read. What's coming up this week? Well, we were in Japan with Toyota for a week, and we did a little travel vlog thing looking back at the week that was. That will drop tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. Motormouth Goes to Japan. That's on tomorrow. On Tuesday, Questions, Coffee, and Cars is back. Wednesday, the Nissan Versa. We had requests for inexpensive cars, so we picked one of those. Questions, Coffee, and Cars again on Friday. And then on Saturday, we're going to start one of our top 5 videos. Sort of as we round out the year, we'll be looking at the 2024 models and what our top 5 picks are for all the different categories. So that is coming up just a little bit later on. Okay, so into the questions, not the questions, the pictures. And the first picture, this comes from Dave, who lives near us here in Vancouver. He said, I sold my 2015 Cayman. There's the beautiful Cayman in the background. He put 17,000 kilometers on it, flawless, low, minimal cost of ownership. When he sold it, he made about $2,000 on the car, so well done there. And now he's bought a 2016 E400 Coupe, and it's got 33,000 kilometers, basically brand new car, but at 40% the price of new, and that is about 20,000 miles. So he's traded in one coupe for a bigger coupe, and it's got the 6-cylinder engine, so very different driving experience from the Cayman, but Dave's real tall. So I think he'll fit in that one better. This one comes from Webb. I think that's the name. No name really, just the picture. CX90. Brand new one. I like the color, the light color, and the light color interior. And then our last picture. This comes from Dave. He said, Don, I should say, since you like small trucks and Volkswagen Group vehicles so much, I thought of you. You'd be interested in this. I spotted this conversion of what I think is a mid-2000s Audi A4. It was wavy, but looked really functional. I'm not sure what you mean by wavy. Oh, I see what you mean, the paint down the side. Yeah, a bit of a home job there, a conversion. I'm sure if they sold it, they would probably do okay. Okay, so let's get into the questions. And here's Webb again. Maybe Webb is a person, because when you sent in the picture, it just said Webb. So hopefully you're the same Webb. Hey, Zach, when do you review the new 5 Series? We'll have to wait and see when it's available in the press fleet, but as soon as we can get our hands on it. Are you thinking of the new the i5? It looks kind of interesting, the electric 5 Series. Yeah, as soon as it's available, we'd like to get our hands on it. Next question. I feel like manufacturers have been hedging their bets with EV adoption, and now the way winds are blowing with EVs sitting on the lot, they are backing off their timeline a little also for winter. Yeah, well, we've seen this headline coming out over the last month or so that electric vehicle sales have kind of plateaued and stalled. And a big part of this, and a lot of people don't talk about it, is the fact that the market leader with electric vehicles is Tesla. And Tesla has dropped their prices by about 20%. And depending on the models, they continue to adjust their prices. So they've dropped their prices down. They now qualify for the tax credit in the United States up to $7,500. Excuse me. So for a lot of people, the cars were too expensive. They dropped the price. Now there's a tax credit involved. So that makes their vehicles even more attractive. So you've got Tesla. All they make are electric cars. So they have economies of scale and much better margins than legacy car brands that are trying to make electric vehicles alongside all of their traditional vehicles and hybrids and plug-ins. So that's one of the main reasons why EV adoption is slowed, because a lot of the brands that are selling their vehicles just can't compete with Tesla on price, functionality, and of course the charger network. Now, a bit of a silent reason that has been pointed out to me, and it is actually a very good point, is one by one, all of the brands have announced that they're going to be adopting the North American charging standard, which is Tesla. And a lot of them won't be doing that until next year. So I think some people are sitting on the sidelines thinking, if I'm going to buy an electric car, why would I buy one that's going to have the old charging plug when I could wait for a year and then they'll be on the new charging plug? There's only two brands that have not adopted this standard. One is Volkswagen. I can't remember what the other one is. Subaru just announced that they're going to it. So I think that's part of the reason as well. Some brands that have announced, or most brands have announced, they're switching to that charging system. People are going to wait on the sidelines. Just a thought. KPKP. Family member bought a VinFast VF8, bricked 2 months of use. Brick 2 months of use. Brick for the past 3 weeks. Tech support is bad, and now a yard ornament. No ETA on a fix. CX5 considered outdated in its class. I'm not sure what that means. Anyway, that's not good news. If you've got somebody that's got a brand new VF8 and it's turned into a brick, that's not very good. Oh, here's the follow-up to that. Sorry, Zach, I meant the VF8 was bricked after 2 months of use. Yikes, that's not good. And that's the thing is, if the computer and the screen freezes, everything's done through the screen. So that could be part of the problem. Hey, Zach, did you get your GTI? I can't seem to decide on that or the new 2024 Elantra N. Always good to see you back. Listen, we have been in contact with our dealer here, Volkswagen of Vancouver, or Vancouver Volkswagen. Mark there, who is in charge of the ID cars. He's like the lead on their electric cars, but he's been our contact. Got an email from him this week, and he said, this was at the beginning of this past week, I should say, this week was the week that our GTI was to be built. The ironic thing is we were in Europe with Volkswagen on the week it was to be made, and all of the guests that were there from Volkswagen were all from Wolfsburg, which is where our GTI is being made. So it all kind of seemed to come together. So he sent a sheet that said our estimated time for it to be built was this past week, and the scheduled time for it to be built was this past week. So hopefully it has been made and is expected to arrive between Christmas and New Year. So we'll have to wait and see. It is coming. That or the Elantra N. The Elantra N has got a really nice complement of comfort and performance. I would say it's more performance oriented than the GTI. GTI is a bit of an all-rounder. The Elantra N is a little bit more focused, not nearly as focused as the Kona N with its shorter wheelbase, but comfortable, big, supportive sport seats, great power, all of those things. The problem that Hyundai has as a performance brand is that they're young to this. So maybe some people are like, well, I'm not sure it's going to be as predictable as some other vehicles in terms of performance, reliability, and of course resale value. And we know vehicles like the GTI and the Golf R do hold their value exceptionally well. And I think that GR Corolla is going to be very sought after as the years go by. But I say if you can get your hands on an Elantra N, it's a great car. They did a wonderful job. This is Daniel saying, welcome back. wrist check. This is my Gerard Perregaux Seahawk 2. There you go. From about the year 2000. This is the biggest watch I have and also the most comfortable. There you go. Another follow-up from Daniel. Any news on the updated 4Runner, or would a new Land Cruiser take its place? We have asked this question. We were in, obviously, Toyota's company for the whole trip, and we asked them many times about this and said, where are we with the 4Runner? They're not telling us anything, but I would suggest that there is going to be one. You think about the cadence of what they're doing. They're bringing out all these body-on-frame trucks. So we're going to be driving the new Tacoma next week in Los Angeles. We get the chance to drive the Tacoma. Then we're going to get a chance to drive the Land Cruiser, the Lexus GX, and they brought out the new Tundra, of course. And then hopefully they'll turn their attention to the 4Runner. I can't imagine them giving up such a storied nameplate. It has so much strength in the North American market. Could they be holding it back for an electrified truck? That might be what they'll do with 4Runner. We're not sure, and they're certainly not going to tell me. Here's Reinhard. Hey, hi, Zach. Great reviews while in Japan. Made me hopeful that EVs will have much longer range down the road. Maybe I'll be back to EV then. So if you didn't watch, we did 2 questions, coffee, and cars from Japan. And we had special guests, Stephen Beattie, Vice President of Toyota Canada, and Scott McKenzie. And he's got an interesting guy because he's the Director of External Affairs, but he also works for the manufacturing side. So there's Toyota Canada and there's Toyota Motors Manufacturing Canada. That's where they make the cars. So he works at the plant, and the manufacturing doesn't actually work on the line, but he works for the manufacturing side and also the corporate communications side for Toyota Canada, and getting a chance to sit down with these 2 executives. So I encourage you to go and watch the 2 questions, coffee, and cars we did from Japan. And we talked about solid state batteries and what has been officially announced from Toyota and what the projected timeline is. So the range on these is going to be about 600 to 700 miles, or about 12 to 1600 kilometers of range. They're going to be able to charge a lot faster. The batteries are going to be smaller. So you think about it, smaller, less weight, greater charging, and much better range. And Toyota has the most solid state battery patents than anybody in the world. And they claim that they're going to have this coming to market in 2027. Like, that's just a few model years away. So that's encouraging news that there's going to be a breakthrough with battery technology, and it's going to be solid state. So there you go. We'll have to wait and see and get our hands on one, but all things looking good. The bad news for other brands that are trying to move their EV needle, if all of the reports are coming out from Toyota that this is happening and it's going to really be those kinds of numbers, I think a lot of people will sit on the sidelines and wait and say, if I'm going to spend all this money, because electric cars are expensive, I might as well get one that will have that kind of range and that kind of charging. That's the way I would be. And I've been saying this for a long time. First generation early adopters of EVs, are these cars going to be that sought after? I'm kind of more of a second generation guy. When the next generation of EVs all come out, I think that then they'll be much more attractive. Just my opinion. All right, here's James, who goes by Trippin' with Dumas. Welcome back from Japan. Thoughts on the Mazda Concept RX Miata? So yeah, we saw here's the one problem I had with the Japan Motor Show. Almost all of the vehicles that were on display there were concepts. Now, I like a concept like anybody else, but I'm also very leery of concepts because concepts will often change into something else, right? So, for example, the MX-5 replacement, the RX, was actually a coupe. It wasn't a convertible. It's quite a bit bigger. And they have said they're going to be able to scale it and make it smaller, but there's going to be a big jump from what was shown to what will eventually be in someone's driveway. And it's the same with all of these concept vehicles. Even though brands are getting concepts as close to production ready as possible. There's a lot of information we just don't know. We don't know exactly what, in the case of an electrified vehicle, the size of the battery, the power, the range, the charging, all of that. We don't know that. And we don't know the packaging, and we don't know the pricing. So as great as it is to see concept vehicles, I'm more of a meat and potatoes kind of guy. I like to see production vehicles and where they're going. But back to your point about the concept from Mazda, it looked good. Their cars always look good. But what actually comes out of it is going to be something altogether different. Here's another super chat. Would you purchase a Type 2 MDX or a Q8? Not sure what you mean by Type 2. Type S? I think that's what you mean. Yeah, I think that the MDX with the higher performance engine and the active suspension and the Brembo brakes and all of that kind of stuff is a fantastic product and is really unique in the marketplace. And when you look at it on paper and you look at the packaging of it and the power and you say to yourself, now that's an expensive Acura. But when you start to compare it to the Germans, where it's really up against, it's actually cheaper and doesn't really have any competition. It has more power than a Q7 or a Q8 base model, and it's cheaper than those products as well. So I'm a big fan of that MDX. The only drawback to that is the trackpad interface for the infotainment screen. If you can live with that, it's not that big of a deal breaker. For some people it is, but boy, the machine is nice. It drives really well. It looks good. I like the suspension. I like the handling. I like all of it. It's a really interesting vehicle, and will be much fresher than the Q8, even though the Q8 is going to be updated shortly. Another super chat. Thank you for this. Very nice of you. 2025 Carnival images were released this week. Motor One reports that it'll have the Sorento drivetrain. What do you give the odds that it'll have all-wheel drive? I'm not sure about that. You got to remember that Sorento is sold as a front-wheel drive model in the United States. All of these vehicles that we get in the Canadian market that are sold as all-wheel drive as base models, often there's just a front-wheel drive variant that we just don't get. So just because they're updating the Carnival doesn't mean, because it's got an older engine in it. I think it's a 3.3 liter V6. So they're probably going to go to the 2.5 liter turbo. I'm not sure what driveline they've actually chosen, but that engine and that driveline is out of step with the rest of the Kia lineup. So they would definitely be smart to move it to a platform and an engine that's shared with many other vehicles. And just because it's the Sorento doesn't mean it's all-wheel drive. It could be, but we'll have to see. The one advantage to that product is it's cheaper than the Odyssey and the Sienna, a lot cheaper. So maybe they'll keep that model and try and keep it more of a budget-friendly van, even though not many vans are being purchased. Here's Michael. Hi, Zach. Should I buy a used car before the end of 23 or wait until 24? Looking at a 13 to 16 RX 350 or equivalent, around $25,000 to $30,000 Canadian. Listen, you can. What I would suggest you do is start looking at those RXs in those years at those price ranges and keep an eye. If there's a lot of them out there, you could easily wait until the calendar year drops to 24. Then all of those vehicles are now 1 year older, and the price needs to be adjusted accordingly. However, you might be getting into a situation where really nice examples with low mileage and being well looked after, there's not that many of them. So sometimes you're better to buy the best example you can at the best possible price you can at this particular moment. Trying to time the market and find the best deal. Sometimes you have to take a vehicle that maybe wasn't as nice as one you saw earlier, which was just a little bit more money. So I'm not sure. I haven't looked up RX 350s to see how many are for sale, but low mileage, good quality examples, there's probably not a ton of them. And you might just want to buy the best example you can afford. That's my advice for anybody buying a used car is buy the best example you can. Saving money and buying a vehicle with way higher miles, excuse me, apologize, is kind of false economy. You in the long run, spending just a little bit more and getting a car with lower miles is definitely the way to go. Another super chat. This is James again. A new Miata for a second car or equivalent value, and he goes on to say Boxster. Well, one is a lot less money, and it's less car. Like the Miata, the MX-5 is a wonderful machine. Dollar for dollar, pound for pound, you're not going to beat that car for fun factor. But it's never going to be as fast and be it's not going to be as fast and dynamic as the Porsche, especially when you're driving faster. But if you just want to cruise around in a fun car with the roof down and turn the radio up and have a good time, you're going to have a real hard time beating an MX-5. And the other thing is that car is going to be way more reliable, maybe not reliable, but way cheaper to maintain than if you're going to get a Boxster. A Boxster is a beautiful car. They've proven to be very reliable. Same thing again, buy the best example you can, and it'll deliver many, many miles of hopefully trouble-free driving. But the maintenance is a lot more. The consumables are more expensive, tires and brakes and all those sorts of things. So I know you already have a Mazda, James, so if you like the brand, and the other thing, there's loads of MX-5s, depending on your budget, all the way back to, 30 years basically. They've been making the car, so you can find one in your budget, no problem, depending on what your budget is. That's the great thing about them. If your budget's $5,000, you can find one. If it's $35,000, you could get a new one. So there you go. Okay. Here's another question. Hi, Zach. Enjoyed following you in Japan on Instagram. Did you check out or buy a new watch? I did look at watches. The interesting thing with the Japanese yen is there's some really good deals on all kinds of things. Electronics, we did get a new camera for video for this because it was so much cheaper with the yen. And then you get the tax-free if you're a tourist, which made it very enticing. And I did look at watches. I just bought a new watch, so I wasn't going to be a spendy watch. I thought I might grab a Seiko watch as a kind of a travel watch, and then I was like, I'm never going to wear it because I have all these other nicer watches. So I passed on that and decided to keep my powder dry, keep saving. I do have a watch that I want to buy one day, but I can't be distracted. This happens all the time. I'm on the path, and then all of a sudden I get distracted and I go, I'll get that, when I should have just kept saving for the watch I want, which I'll do this time. Well, we'll see, but that's my plan. Hi, Zach. What are your thoughts on leasing a 2024 NX 350h Luxury versus the BMW X4 i30 Basic, both around 73,000 Canadian? Well, these are quite different machines. The X4 is the X3 with a sloped roof at the back. If you like that design, doesn't do anything for me, but doesn't mean it's not a good product. So essentially, it's the same running gear and everything that you're going to get in the X3. It's a good car, good drivetrain, nice interior, does everything well. But you're not going to get the fuel savings that you're going to get on that Lexus. I mean, that's why you buy that model, is that you're getting excellent returns on fuel economy. So you're getting basically the RAV4 hybrid system, but a larger electric motor, and it does deliver a better driving experience, more torque, more drivability, but it's not a BMW. It's smaller. The BMW has a bigger back seat. The BMW has a bigger cargo area. I would suspect even with that sloped rear cargo lid on the X4, it's still going to be bigger than the NX. I mean, not sure if you're totally sold on the X4, because the X3 is a more practical vehicle. If you don't care and you really like that design, then go for it. You have to decide, do a gut check. Am I motivated by the prestige of a BMW and the handling and driving dynamics versus getting great fuel economy. If it's about fuel economy, then you're going to get the Lexus. Grand Highlander Platinum or Kia Telluride. I was all in. If you watch this channel, I've been all in on the Korean cousins. The Telluride specifically, I just think the styling's better than Palisade. That's a personal thing. Until the Grand Highlander came out. Then the Grand Highlander came out. Now I'm all in on the Grand Highlander. It is the large 3-row SUV to beat. Especially if now they've got more drivetrains than anybody. They've got a regular turbo gas. They've got the same efficient RAV4 hybrid system and also the same system that's in the regular Highlander in the Grand Highlander. Then you go up to the hybrid max system, which is the one you're looking at. I would say if you could get a Grand Highlander, a hybrid max, it's fantastic. Here's Josh. We haven't heard from Josh in a while. Hey, Zach, my Tesla was in an accident. I got an Alpha Stelvio from insurance and can't believe the amount of gas I used this month. Maybe $600 worth compared to the $70 with the EV. The EV is a no-brainer. Yeah, but it doesn't drive. That doesn't drive like an Alfa Romeo. Come on, Josh, admit the Alfa Romeo is fun. Now, you're doing a hell of a lot of driving if you're spending $600 on gas. Josh is a realtor, so you're in your car a lot. But yeah, come on. The suspension in the Stelvio, the handling of the Stelvio, the comfort of the Stelvio, your Tesla can't touch that. Even in the interior, in my opinion, is better. But it's not electric. And yeah, it's like in gas, but there you go. So, Josh, I'd love for you to write down below what you really think of the Stelvio when it comes to comfort, driving, and handling. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hi, Zach. Do you think the X5 is too big for a young couple with no kids? I want an SUV in that category, and I love the design of the Q8, but will this be less reliable than BMW's great engine? Yeah, the Q8's much bigger because it's basically the Q7 with the same size back seat and a slightly smaller cargo area. It's got the same 335 horsepower turbocharged 6-cylinder that's used in Cayenne, it's used in Q8, and it's also in the Q7. Now, the X5, I don't believe is too big for a couple. When Andrea and I, we had kids. When we first, when Jack was little, we had the X5. I don't know. I say buy what you like. You're not going to be able to replicate the inline 6-cylinder of the BMW. The closest you're going to get is the Mercedes-Benz GLE. But the X5 has proven to be a very reliable vehicle, very well built. Inline 6-cylinder is a gem. I like it. If it was my choice between the two, I'd be BMW all day long. Here's John. Hi, Zach. Saw pics of the new Murano. I was wondering if Nissan will discount the old one next year, or is that wishful thinking? Well, it's not a big seller. Like the Murano is the afterthought mid-size SUV. Most people don't even think about it. So I would suspect that as the new one is about to come, there probably will be some discounts or maybe low interest rates. That's the first thing you're going to see with any car brand for deals. It's like if you're going to roll a car off the line now and get a loan or a lease on it, the full rate is going to be 8 to 10%. So one way that car brands can incentivize a sale is to reduce the interest rate. So they're buying down the cost of borrowing the money. And I've seen it as low as like around 2%. We're seeing that with full-size trucks that aren't selling right now. So you can get car brands that will reduce the interest rate. So that's the first thing you look for. And then you look for a reduction in like a rebate on the vehicle overall. But there's a third one that a lot of people don't think about. So those first two come from the manufacturer. In this case, it would be Nissan. Drop the interest rate, maybe give a little rebate, $1,000 or $2,000 on the hood of the car. The third one, and a lot of people forget about it, is ask the dealer for some money off the hood as well. So you can get, if you can get all three, discounted interest rate, rebate from the manufacturer, which the dealer doesn't pay for, and then get the dealer to kick in something, like maybe it's not going to be a big reduction in the cost, but you might be able to get winter tires at cost, something, get something out of them, then yeah, I think the Murano is a vehicle that not many people are looking at, and there might be some inventory available when they refresh the next model. So there you go. What full size and mid size? I don't understand what that means. Will Mazda be introducing the C70? The CX-70 is coming, and it's been delayed a little bit. It's supposed to be coming. It'll be coming next calendar year, 2024. So think of the CX-90, but a little bit smaller. Apparently, from what I understand, it's going to be the same drive lines. So that is inline six-cylinder and the PHEV. But it's not going to be the size of the CX-5. Okay, it's going to be bigger. So think of the CX-90, but just 2 rows and a little bit shorter. That's what we've been kind of told. Hey Zach, Apple Watch, do you have one? No, not interested in that. Here's Raj. Haven't heard from Raj in a while. Hey, hope all is well. I made the live show. I noticed Audi e-tron GT have insane discounts. $50K. I thought this car was well reviewed. Well, basically, that car is the Taycan. I heard those stories as well, that the high-end EV space is really stalled. Mercedes is taking it on the chin with their EVs, their EQ EVs. I read reports as well that the GT from Audi is sitting. I talked about it at the very beginning. This is all because Tesla has dropped the prices, and all these legacy car brands priced their vehicles to be competitive with Tesla when Tesla was 20% more expensive. In addition, Tesla now, for the lower price units, qualify for tax credits in the United States that they had lost. They got them back. So, is a GT better than a Model S? Arguably, yes, with a much nicer looking car on the outside and the inside. But when it comes to dollars, a lot of people just can't compete. A lot of brands can't compete with the range, the charging infrastructure, and the new value proposition that Tesla is offering. So, and plus the whole EV space for many areas has stalled. It depends where you live. We're not seeing that here in British Columbia where we live, because we have the most expensive gasoline in all of North America. If you think it's expensive in California, come up the coastline here to British Columbia, the most expensive gas. So people here who are looking for a car are thinking, I'm going to maybe make the jump to EV because gas is so expensive. But you get in other jurisdictions where gas is a lot less expensive. We were in Texas recently. Gas was like super cheap. So in those jurisdictions, it's going to be a lot harder to get people to adopt an EV when gas is not that expensive. But yeah, it's going to be watch this space as EVs continue to sit on dealers' lots, and the word gets out that this phenomenon's happening. It's a self-fulfilling downward spiral. As cars are not selling, and the word is out that they're not selling, then it becomes like, well, I'm not going to buy one. And then that continues the downward spiral. So it's going to be interesting to see what car brands do. Then you have companies like Ford who have gone headfirst into making an electric pickup truck. And that was the big race 2 years ago. Everybody's trying to make an electric pickup truck. Tesla's got the Cybertruck. General Motors has the Silverado. Ford's out of the gate with the F-150. Now other brands like General Motors is scaling back. They're delaying the introduction of the Silverado EV by a full year. They've delayed the introduction of the Chevy Equinox EV, I think about 6 months. We did get invited to go to the Blazer EV launch, but we already committed to another program. That's in December, so unfortunately we can't make it. But it's going to be interesting to see what these car brands do. Coming back to Ford, they came out of the gate with the F-150 Lightning. There was lineups, people saying, get me one of those trucks. Well, 6 months, a year has gone by now, and now they have a glut of these things. They're scaling back production, and they're dropping the prices. but they're losing tons of money. Interestingly, Ford split off the traditional motor company from their EV sales, and they now announce the profits and losses in that EV division. And the losses are huge. Now, you got to remember, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, Tesla's losses were huge. So they're obviously in the same camp that they've got to go through these teething pains and get it right and figure out their production, and hopefully they can come to some price balance. But it took Tesla years to get to that. And you see the numbers coming in every quarter from Ford from their EV division, and it's ugly. They're losing a lot of money per unit that they sell. How long that's going to continue, I don't know. You're seeing boards of these car companies getting fidgety as well, delaying spending money. Ford, as an example, again, delayed $12 billion of investment they had planned in EV technology, plants. They've delayed that indefinitely. When they're going to invest that money again, we're going to have to wait and see. But it's an interesting thing to watch for sure. 2019 RAV4 Trail with 14,000 kilometers. Residual value is 17. Should I buy it out? Lease expires in April. Well, I think if you've only got 14,000 kilometers on a vehicle and the residual is $17,000, do yourself a favor and go on Auto Trader and try and find a RAV4 Trail with that low kilometers for that price. Not a chance you're going to find one. They're all going to be $25,000 to $30,000 guaranteed. So yes, you should keep that car, at least buy it out. And if in a year or so you want to get another vehicle, you can trade it in, and you're going to have that money reduced off the tax when you buy the new vehicle. So even if you don't keep the car, you could buy it and sell it privately, or you could go back to the dealer and say, my buyout is $17,000. You've got these on the lot with higher miles for $25,000. Give me some equity into another lease. Say, give me $5,000 equity, and then they can take the car and resell it. So there's different ways you can do it. It's going to be some work, but please don't give the car back. That's just going to go right into the dealer's bottom line. They're going to take your low mileage car, clean it up, flip it, make a killing on it. I mean, the car's got 14,000 kilometers on it. It's not even worn in yet. So, my advice, buy it and keep it. Masha, hello Zach, Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid or Venza LE? Well, these are in two totally different categories. One is a subcompact crossover, and then the Venza is a slightly longer version of the RAV4. It's the same platform, but it's made to look a little bit sleeker, and it's just a little bit longer because of the shape of the rear end. Listen, the Corolla Cross Hybrid, I drove it for a week, and I was absolutely thoroughly impressed with it because it just does the job it's designed to do. It's a fantastic city runabout. You park it anywhere. It's easy to maneuver. Pretty good driving dynamics. The steering is very like a little too light for my liking. But you know what? Zipping it in and out of parking spots, it's a breeze. The Venza is sort of trying to be a quasi-luxury utility vehicle, but I'm not sure if you're saying Venza LE is a hybrid or gas. So that's one you're going to have to cross on your own. Do you want a hybrid or do you care? Yeah, they're a totally different class of vehicle. So I really can't help you out. What I suggest you do is go and drive them and then see where you're at. Okay, we have some more super chats here. Let's see, we got a lot of questions, man. Rizzy, just paid off my 19 CPO Porsche Macan S with PASM. Disappointed when I got trade value from a Lexus friend manager. I paid 56 in July, US now worth 46. Maybe sell it before it drops more. Thoughts? Well, one thing you've got to remember is that the dealer is going to pay you the wholesale value of the car, not the retail value of the car. And that means they're going to buy it for the 46, and then they're going to either send it to auction, or they're going to, take the car and recondition it, detail it, clean it, maybe put on some new tires, whatever, and then stick it out on the lot, probably closer to your $56,000. So wholesale value is very different from the retail value. If you wanted to sell that yourself, you would be selling it at the retail price. So I'm not sure what the value of that vehicle is in the used market, but just because a dealer offered you that doesn't mean that's the real price. What you need to do is you need to start doing some online comparisons. So go on to a platform like AutoTrader, look up your year of Macon, look up similar mileage, and look up what dealers are actually asking for the vehicles, and that's going to give you a better idea as to the value of your vehicle if you sold it privately or you sold it, if you sold it privately. Also remember that there's a bit of negotiation in what the dealers are selling them for used. They might list it for 58, but might actually go out the door at 55. So it's more work for you. If that's not up your alley, then shop it around to different dealers. What I would do is I would shop it to a Porsche dealer, because a Porsche dealer's always going to be interested in selling their own brand, always looking for nice vehicles. Yours is a CPO'd car. It's only a 2019. I'm not sure what the mileage is on it, but you're probably better to go back to Porsche, and they'll probably give you more for the vehicle, I would think, than you're going to get from the Lexus dealer, just because they're going to be able to turn that much easier. The Lexus dealer might not even keep the car. They might try to sell it to a Porsche dealer or put it in auction. Here's Daniel. By the way, I just wanted to check. We got 431 people on board. Thank you very much for being here. 120 thumbs up. If you guys could smash the thumbs up, that would be great. All right, back to Daniel's question. Leased a 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland 4xe, so that's the plug-in hybrid. Don't drive 30 plus round trip a day, satisfied with current electric range, but insight on Jeep Stellantis offering more range in future models. Well, as time goes on, that all of these plug-ins that are available today will be improved in the next generation. So what I would say to you is, if you're driving a Grand Cherokee and you're not doing the range that is available to you today in your daily commute, what do you care if there's a vehicle with more range? Enjoy the one you've got. I like the look of the new Jeep Grand Cherokee, certainly like the interior, and if you're driving on EV range most of the time, put a feather in your cap. You're saving money on gas, and you've got a vehicle that suits your needs. That's good. So if they come out with a new one and it's got more range, is it really going to change your day-to-day commute? No, because if this one's satisfying it, that's great. I think a lot of times we get caught up in the newest and the latest and it's got to have more. Well, just because it has more doesn't mean you're using more. You see this all the time with electric vehicles. I need a car that has 500 miles of EV range. Well, how do you drive your car? Well, I drive to work and home, and on the weekend I take my kids to soccer practice. Well, how many miles is that? Well, I drive round trip 40 miles a day. And where do you go on the weekend? I go about 60 miles. Well, what the hell do you need 500 miles of range for? Well, if I go on a road trip. Well, how often do you go on a road trip? Once a year? Twice a year? I mean, if worse came to worse and you were that worried about it, you could always rent a car for those times. Borrow, the mother-in-law's car, whatever it is. So I think that, just because there will be a new Grand Cherokee 4xe, and it probably will have more range. But this one seems like it's floating your boat, so enjoy it. Do you know the company that sells the most plug-in hybrids? Do you know the company that sells the most plug-in hybrids? That's right, it's Stellantis, thanks to Jeep. Jeep with the Wrangler 4xe and the Grand Cherokee 4xe, they sell more of those than everybody else. More than Lexus, more than Toyota, more than Hyundai and Kia. That's right, Stellantis. Here's another super chat. Why U.S. Honda Pilot has more colors than Canada? Gray exterior with brown interior, but it's not in Canada. Also blue exterior in U.S., which is unavailable in Canada. Do you know what? We hear this on both sides of the border. Americans say, well, why do you get that in Canada, but we don't get it in the United States? I don't know. It's the product planning team. And you would think people are misguided in thinking that a Toyota or a Honda that's sold in the US is exactly the same in Canada. They're not. They have totally different companies that plan the vehicles for each market. And so they have full product planning departments that decide, when you get a vehicle from the factory, whether it's Honda or Toyota, they go, here's all the things that you could have in your car. And then the product planning team will go, we want that, we want that, we want that, we don't want that. Yeah, we don't want that. A perfect example is Kia with the Seltos. They have that big long list of things that they could put in their Seltos. They check the box for a power liftgate. Over at Hyundai, they're doing the Kona, same platform. They have the same list of features they could add. They didn't take it. So Kia has a power liftgate in the Seltos. Hyundai does not. And then you get two different countries. One product planning department says, we want this color with this combination, blah, 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 blah. And then the US picks something else. I mean, that's just the way it is. But it goes the other way. People in the US look at the Canadian and go, what do you mean? How come you get heated rear seats? We don't get that in the US. How come you get a standard heated steering wheel? We don't get that in the United States. That's just the way it is. Not much you can do about it. Okay, so here's Rizzy again, following up on the Macan. Porsche offered 42,000, only 19,000 miles. Private sale was 49. Well, I'm not sure what to say. You obviously done some good homework on this. So you have a vehicle you paid 56 CPO for, and cars do depreciate, so they don't stay at that price forever. So that could just be the case that maybe Macan sales in the used market are not as strong, and that's affecting the retail value and the used value of your Macan. So should you sell it now or trade it in and move on? My advice, it's only got 19,000 miles on it. I'd ride that one out. I mean, that's a hell of a nice car. You've got a Macan, CPO, so it's under warranty, and it's only got 19,000 miles. I'm not sure why you're running away from that car. That's a hell of a car. Maybe just keep it. Here's another super chat. I own a QX60 2020 model. Will I be able to sell it off in 2 to 3 years' time at a decent price with the new generation model already in the market? Well, when a new model comes out that is improved, and the new one is improved over the model you have, that affects the value of the used market. So in 2 or 3 years' time, your car is going to be 5 or 6 years old instead of being 3 years old. So that's something you have to consider. The vehicle is getting older, and then you've got to try and resell it. It's also going to be out of warranty. If you sold it now, for example, it's a 2020 model. It has a 4-year warranty, so you're going to have option to sell a vehicle with some remaining warranty. In 2 or 3 years' time, it won't have that unless you extend the warranty and pay for that. But the new model has one great advantage over your Infiniti, and that's the transmission. So your QX60 had a continuously variable transmission. The new one has a 9-speed conventional automatic, and it does drive better. However, I will say, as the years went by, with the Pathfinder and the old QX60, it improved. And it became much more reliable, because when it first came out, the real bugaboo was the transmission. But in the later years, things definitely got better. So there you go. You have to decide. It's the same thing Rizzy was asking. When do you sell your vehicle to maximize its value? Yours, I would suggest probably sooner than later. With hers, with only 19,000 miles on it, I say just keep driving it. Excuse me for coughing so much today. Still getting over that. I don't even remember, like 3 weeks ago, I had a bad cold. So, still dealing with the after effects of that. I got to figure out where I was here. Okay, here we go. Apple Watch, we answered that one. e-tron GT, we answered that one. Grand Cherokee, we answered that one. All right, here we go. Here's Cameron. Love the channel. We always hear about what platforms automakers are using sharing. But what actually are these platforms? What do they consist of? What makes them so expensive to develop? Okay, so a platform is a generic term for what could be quite simply the platform, but often it's a shared integration of a bunch of different things. So a platform is about $1 billion to make, and that's when they share the costs. We'll think of something like Nissan, Renault, Mitsubishi alliance. Okay, so that's an alliance where they share costs and platforms. So the Nissan Rogue is the same platform they use for the Mitsubishi Outlander. And I'm not sure what the Renault version is, but there will be a vehicle, obviously, in Europe that's built on that same platform. So when they develop the platform, it's an integration of the actual metal that makes up the platform, also the bolting points that make it adjustable and scalable for whatever vehicle they want. So when a new platform is developed, it often isn't just for that one size vehicle. So think of Toyota's TNGA platform that they have in the RAV4. That's scalable to make it bigger into the Highlander and scalable to make it bigger again into the Grand Highlander, all developed off the same platform. And then you have the engines that go into that platform are scalable for the different models. So the transmissions will be able to move in and out of these things. And the other thing is the crash tests and the engineering that goes into making them quiet, efficient, lightweight, and also durable in accidents takes a lot of engineering might to make them. So platform generically is the actual physical platform where you bolt the wheels onto, but it often encapsulates more than that. It's the whole family, a suite, if you will, of engine transmissions and scalability of sizes, because platforms can be made longer or shorter. Think of the Grand Cherokee, then they also make the Grand Cherokee L. That's the long wheelbase version. Same platform, it's just elongated. Does that make sense? So to get all of that right, and to have it used by, in the case of Nissan, Renault, Mitsubishi, it's got to be used by 3 different companies for vehicles that look quite different. So that's where the money comes in. I just want to go down here. So that was Cameron. I just want to go back and see if we had a reply to the Alfa Romeo question I had. If you wrote back. I don't see it. Someone says, you've always got a cold. Yeah, you're right. I've also got acid reflux, which is one of the reasons why I cough a lot. So I apologize. So he didn't write back. Oh well. What are you going to do? All right. If you guys could smash the thumbs up, that would be great. Appreciate that every time. That has to be Lexus TX Grand Highlander. Perhaps a new Chevy Traverse will show again at the Los Angeles Auto Show. Be available for viewers after that. That one is big. So I think we're talking about large SUVs. Yeah, I really can't wait to look and see and drive the Chevy Traverse. And this trend in the midsize SUV space of going to 4-cylinder turbos is also taking place with the Traverse. It's going to have I believe it's a 2.5-liter turbo, over 300 horsepower though, so that's quite a lot of power. We saw it with the Atlas going to a 2-liter turbo, basically the GTI engine. Then, of course, the Highlander and the Grand Highlander have the new 2.4-liter engine that's also going to be used in Tacoma. So this trend of the mid-size utilities going to Turbo 4s is not going to slow down. We still have some outliers there, though. They're using V6s still. The Palisade, the Telluride, the Pilot, the Pathfinder, maybe I'm missing one. But eventually, they're probably all going to have to go that route. Sorry, I'm just trying to go through some of the questions. Love the content. What is your 2-car garage with $100,000 Canadian? What do you think of the RAV4 Prime and Jaguar F-Type? Well, I'm not sure you're getting both of those for $100,000. What would be my $100,000 garage? Do I have to pick new? Because I don't want new. I'd want an E39 M5. Get the best example I could. That's gonna, if I got a really nice one, that's gonna carve out 40 grand right there. And then 60,000 left to go. Probably I'd look for a used Boxster. That's probably what I would do. That'd be my 100 grand. So what do you think of the RAV4 Prime? The RAV4 Prime is great if you can get one. And the Jaguar F-Type, we are getting one in a few weeks. So wait until then, and we're going to review it again. Okay? Hey, Zach, thoughts on waiting for the Santa Fe 2024 or the Kia Sorento plug-in hybrid? Well, I think the new Santa Fe is going to be hard to get just because of the design of it. It's really turned a lot of people's heads, and it's going to be interesting to see it in person and drive it. That thing, I think, is going to be quite hot and going to be hard to get. Anything that you can get with a plug-in hybrid, I think, is tricky to get as well. We like the Sorento a lot. It all comes down to what you need it for and how many passengers. So the interesting thing with Sorento is if you get the plug-in, you don't get a bench seat in the second row. So it's 2 in the front, 2 in the second row, and then 2 in the third row. Because Sorrento's quite small, if you have the third row up, the cargo space behind that is tiny. So if you have a third person, they're always going to have to go in the way back seat, and then to get extra cargo, you're going to have to keep one of those seats folded down. So it's a bit of a compromise when it comes to that. If you don't need 3 seats in the second row, Sorrento's great. But wait until we get our hands on the new Santa Fe. Hey, Zach, long time. Been a fan since watching you in high school. Oh, you were in high school. Not I was in high school. On Global TV. Any new rumors of the Toyota Stout? I saw the EV concept getting attention at the motor show. Yeah, so if you haven't watched those videos we did, Questions, Coffee, and Cars from the Toyota booth at the Japan Mobility Show, watch them. So yeah, that's an EV concept. Pretty much production ready from the way it looks. We asked the executives, will it be coming with a hybrid or a plug-in? They didn't say yes, they didn't say no, but they said their goal is to deliver more of this technology. So my guess is that yes, the EV concept is the EV that they're showing, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid in that platform to go up against a Stout. However, it looked big to me. It didn't look as small as Maverick. It looked almost, maybe not as big as Tacoma, but it didn't look small. Okay, I think we have another super chat coming in here. Rizzy again. Oh boy, you're really getting in here. I appreciate it. Thought in sell now before CPO in 2025. We'll lose money with depreciation, trying to save the money instead of lose. Am I overthinking? So this is Rizzy, who earlier talked about paid 56 buyout for a CPO 2019 Porsche Macan with only 19,000 miles on it. Okay. I'm really surprised that the dealers are offering you so little for a car that only has 19,000 miles on it. I just think that's a real baby. Just always remember, whatever you own, unless it's really quite something unique, I mean, a Macan is unique, but anything you own is a depreciating asset. So the longer you own it, it's going to go down in value. Every car goes down in value for the most part. In the last few years during COVID, we've seen crazy stories of car prices going up, what have you. Historically, prices of cars goes down the longer you own it. So always remember that. The buyout is $56,000. I'm not sure if you paid for it or you're just making more payments on the car, but it will continue to depreciate. At what rate? I'm not sure. I know you're trying to save some money, but maybe the way to save money is just to keep the car you've got. buying a new car can be expensive. You've got to pay tax. You've got to do all that. I mean, you've got a 2019 Macan. It's got the extra warranty. It's only got 19,000 miles on it. It's a hell of a car. I'd be inclined to keep it. That's what I would be inclined to do. Here's Jerome, our pal from Quebec. Better late than never. Welcome back home. Thank you very much. So yeah, we went to Japan for a week. We left last Sunday, so a week ago, and we flew a day and a half ahead. So because Japan's a day and a half ahead, we left here and we arrived Monday at like 7 o'clock at night. Went to the hotel, went to sleep, got up and did a full sightseeing tour of Tokyo. By the way, our video of what we got to see and do in Japan is going to drop tomorrow. It's about 20 minutes long. Andrew and I sat there and talked about the trip, and then we showed all the video. So it's coming out tomorrow. Motormouth goes to Japan. Watch that. But then a week went by, and this past Sunday, what day? Yeah, not this week, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Anyway, we got back the following Sunday. We weren't even home for 12 hours. Got up in the morning, went to the airport, and then flew to France to drive the ID7. I know these are first world problems, and I know it's our own fault. We didn't have to say yes, but we did, and we went, and it was kind of neat. And then after 2 nights there, we flew back. So we feel like we've been run over by a bus, to be honest with you. The jet lag is real, and we're pushing through, and we think it's going to be still a few more days until we feel totally human. But if you've ever done those kinds of trips, even for a week or so on holidays and then come back, you know what it's like. But try doing that for just a couple of days. Anyway, like I said, first world problems. Okay, we are up against the clock. Thanks to everybody that chimed in. Appreciate all, especially Rizzy for all the super chats. Very, very nice of you. It does flag it for me and let me know you absolutely have to have a question answered. And back to your Macan. In my opinion, keep the car. Unless you really need the money, then you're going to have to move on to it. But if you can afford the car, I would just keep it. All right, thanks for tuning in. If you want to get your picture on for next week, it's zach@motormouth.ca. Send your picture in for next week. And don't forget, this Toyo Tires contest to win the Celsius 2 all-weather tires in Canada, 1 set for Canada, 1 set for the US, is ending in the next few days. After this is done, I will put it up in the description link where you enter. So make sure you do that pretty quickly here because it's going to close. Okay, enjoy the rest of your evening. Go Bills, go. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye now.